Okay, hi Ian, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I am good, Gabby. Nice to see you again. You all right?
Yes, I'm not bad, thank you. Yeah, it's always nice to see a familiar face when we do these things. I think today's are going to be very topical for a lot of people listening, watching. Obviously, we've decided to talk about the cost of living crisis that's having a huge impact on a lot of people in different ways. I think this term is thrown around a lot, but a lot of people don't quite know what it means or the implications of it. So, I mean, from your perspective, what is a cost of living crisis? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's a good starting point, Gabby, just to go back to the start and just ensure everybody is aware of it. There is so much going on in the world just now that it is actually quite handy to try and kind of isolate what it is specifically we're talking about. I think one of the things I'm concerned about is that people get a bit desensitized to some of this stuff going on just now with the world crisis. So if we look specifically at the cost of living, what we're actually talking about is or things that have happened this year are things like increased national insurance contributions,
Yeah.
a freeze on income and capital gains tax, the fastest growing inflation since, for over 30 years. We've got increased interest rates and expected to carry on increasing certainly for the remainder of this year. What it basically means is it's basically the biggest fall in take home pay for in the region of 30 years. So people have got they've got to take a step back and think about their own personal finances, and especially when you look specifically at retirement planning, there's a lot to consider. There's a lot of things that people need to be aware of
Yeah.
when they're starting to think about their retirement journey. Now, it does depend which stage of the journey they're on, depending on what decisions to make. But it's certainly something which can and will impact retirement planning as we go forward. So it's basically the cost of living challenge is all of the things that I've mentioned there, and then thinking about how do I still do financial planning? How do I still plan for my retirement?
So does this mean you've got your work cut out for you a little bit then?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good because actually, I mean, having been doing this for 30 years,
Yeah.
it's the biggest, the most rewarding aspect of what we do is just to help people, Gabby.
Of
It's
course.
just to put people in an informed position to help people make good decisions. And in our specific case, as you know, all we deal with is dentists. So our financial consultants, our financial advisors that cover the length and breadth of the UK, because all they deal with is dentists, it helps them make good decisions based on the world that they live in. So, yeah, therefore, it means we're very, very busy just now with a lot of people asking a lot of questions, but that's the way we would want it. I think the biggest one of the largest challenges for people when we get situations like this is for them just to sit still and do nothing, and that's a big problem. So the more questions people ask of us, the better. It means they're really starting to think about it. It means
Yeah.
they're prepared to do something about it.
How does the cost of living crisis, how does this specifically impact dentists and their retirement plans?
Yeah, it's a really good question because there's so much going on in the world of dentistry. It's probably the last thing that everybody in dentistry needed was to try and consider all the things that are going on from a financial aspect. However, we are where we are. I think it does depending on what stage of the retirement journey you're on, Gabby. So if we look at the people who are heading towards retirement, so people who are maybe 55 plus, maybe 50, 55 plus, who are thinking about it's maybe time to retire. I'm thinking about taking at least reducing the number of hours, reducing the number of days that I'm working, potentially selling my practice, and just generally speaking, just moving on to the next stage of their life. There is definitely they do have to pause, take a step back, and think, right, has there been any impact here? Is there anything I should be aware of before I make some decisions? And some of the decisions around retirement are irreversible. So quite simply, once you've decided to go down a certain route, that's it. So the first thing I would say is find somebody that you trust, a financial advisor that you trust, that you know, and just start off reflecting a bit on what you want to happen and what you expect to happen.
Okay.
Take a step back and look at where you are, and if anything that's going on just now that might be affecting the decisions that you make. Okay. Now, some of the things that you need to be considering, or people should be considering, would be if you have plans to live a certain standard and you need a certain level of income, and you expect that income to provide you with the standard of living that you expect, then it's definitely worth just taking a step back and just making sure that that's still the case. At the end of the day, inflation, the cost of living challenge means that the money in our pocket doesn't go as far as it used to. So you definitely need to just take a step back and think, if I do retire, can I push on with the plans that I've already got in place, and is it going to give me the level of income and the level of and fund the lifestyle that I need and that I want?
Yeah.
The best way to do that is just sit down with somebody who is, we call ourselves the challenging friend, and sit down with somebody and say, right, okay, have I still got this right? Is there anything I need to do different? What are my options? What kind of things could be impacted? How is this affecting my fund values? And then go from there. Okay. So it might require you to adjust when you access pension funds. It might require an adjustment in lifestyle. You might decide to just work on a little bit longer. Taking everything into account, it's just, all we would say is don't necessarily just press on and do it.
Yeah.
Take a step back. There might be other things around that you can do that you didn't expect. One of the advantages we've got now in terms of retirement planning is there are so many more options than they ever used to have. And from that perspective, it's really good, it's really positive. So I would just ask people just to make sure that you're aware of what all the options are. Does everything still fit as you had hoped? Are you still going to be able to fund the lifestyle that you want to fund? And are you aware of all the different options available to you, and then make some good, well-informed decisions at that point? So basically, take a step back, talk to somebody, assess where you are before you actually press that button and say, right, that's me retiring.
And what about those who are perhaps a little bit earlier on in the process? So maybe those who aren't in their 50s, they may be in their early 40s, so they're a little bit further off that point of actually retiring, but obviously they might be thinking about how they can protect their finances and protect their future. Is it the same advice for them, or do they do things a little bit differently?
I think those people have got the biggest challenge, Gabby, because it's really tempting to kind of close your eyes and bury your head in the sand and hope that all of this goes away. And now the chances are it will. The Bank of England are expecting inflation to peak at around 10% at some point this year, but they are hoping, obviously there's no guarantees, but they're hoping it's going to go back down to 2% at some point next year. So they're hoping it will adjust itself. But nobody knows at this point, and with all the things going on in the world just now, it's really difficult to try and anticipate where all of this is going. Therefore, the easiest thing to do is just kind of close your eyes and hope that it goes away, and just do nothing. The other risk is that people just back away from retirement planning and just think, right, I'll deal with that when things are better. That's a huge mistake. If I could show you, we have different calculators where we can show you the impact of cost of delay. So in other words, putting off a decision of in terms of saving for your retirement. So let's forget about it. Let me just put everything on hold for 2 years, and then I'll pick it up from there. The impact on that on your overall retirement can be really significant. So again, before you do anything, speak to somebody and go through these calculations. What I would definitely recommend is there's 3 things that I think people should be doing for this kind of age group. The first one is to review. So we do a kind of process of review, reflect, and then adjust. So the review part of it is have a look at what you've got just now. Where are we just now with your retirement planning? So do you have personal pensions? Do you have property? Are you running a business? Do you have cash? What are your investments like? where are they, what's the tax implications, what's the charges, and really understand what you've got around about you just now. Okay, so retirement planning isn't just pensions, it's the full picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so have a look at that first of all. So that's the review part, that's just factual, that's just where are the hard facts here. And then think about the reflection part, which is the second part, is to make sense of it. So what is it I'm trying to achieve? Where am I going? What flexibility would I like in retirement? Who else is involved? So does my retirement rely on a spouse's situation or a family situation, or when I pay off my debts, or when the children are no longer or maybe no longer financially dependent, etc. What does my retirement look like? What does it depend on? And then reflecting on what you've already got will kind of, you put all of this into what's called a cash flow analysis document, which means that you can project forward what that's going to look like at maybe age 55 or 57 or 60, and that will give you a really clear indication as to what all this means and where you are from here. The decision though would be, if you look at where you're trying to get to versus what you've already got, the risk of doing nothing means that you may well end up in a much poorer situation than you expect to be. You might actually, this might be the time to actually take action.
Okay.
So are your investments doing what you want them to do? Are they in the right place? Has your attitude to investment risk changed? Can you put more towards your retirement planning, or should you take some out and put it somewhere else? Be proactive with it. I think if we use a dental analogy, it would be dentists are clearly all about prevention, better than cure, and making sure that we anticipate problems before, or they anticipate problems before it becomes an issue later on. Well, financial planning is the same. What we're trying to do is, if you review and reflect and then make adjustments going forward, then you're in the best possible position to make sure you keep up to pace with what's going on just now. So that's kind of the best advice I can give you for those people. Just please don't sit back and do nothing. Review what you've got, reflect on what difference it makes and where this is taking you, and then adjust going forward. And look at your retirement planning in the whole, not just in terms of pension and personal pensions.
So with that in mind, is there such thing as being too young when it comes to considering retirement, or in your opinion, is it just as and when you feel you can?
So the obvious answer is no. It's never too young. In fact, it's one of the best things you can do for a child or a grandchild is to start off a personal pension for them, if you can afford it and you've got disposable income. But it's quite simple. The longer the money's in there, the longer it's got to grow, the longer it's got to offset the highs and lows of the market. It's never too early to get started. What you have to bear in mind though is there are maximums you can have within pension planning. So if we're talking specifically about pension, again, part of your review needs to be, where are you to your annual allowance? Where are you to your lifetime allowance?
Okay.
Because there is a limit there.
Cap,
so you have to continue to adjust and make sure that you understand what that is and where you are to these limits.
Okay.
But the earlier, generally speaking, the earlier you've got the money in a pension plan, the more, the better it will do for you.
Perfect. And what can you do then? So if I'm a dentist and I've got some questions, or I've got some question marks over my retirement plan and where it's going, what do Wesleyan do for these types of dentists?
So what you need, there's a couple of things you need, Gabby. You need to make sure you're speaking to somebody who understands dentists. Dentists are very unique in terms of what their income is made up from, where the risks and opportunities are. Many of them are business people running businesses as well as being a dentist as well. The sources of income comes from private, it can come from NHS, a combination of. So first and foremost, you need to speak to people who really get that and really understand what the NHS pension is all about. Not just the fact that it exists, they actually understand all the details of what the NHS pension plan does. That would be the starting point. Make sure you're speaking to someone who gets that, because if you don't, they're on the back foot and they might miss something. It's very easy to miss something when it comes to the NHS pension plan. So first and foremost, speak to someone who gets dentists and understands the NHS pension scheme. The next thing that we would offer is we have specific tools where we can analyse your retirement objectives. So I mentioned something called cash flow analysis. It's one of the best things you can do, Gabby. It's a bit like it's having a plan, but no plans stay the same. They're always adjusting. They're always a moving feast. Your life changes, your priorities change, your objectives change. But what the cash flow analysis will do is bring it to life and let you see, right, I've got that plan. I want to have that yacht, or I want to buy that holiday home, or I want to do something for the children, or whatever. Whatever your plans are, it then backs it up with the reality of, right, okay, what assets are you using for each of these? So it brings to life the possibility of the things that you would like to do, and also it clearly shows you any gaps. So if there is something that you want to do but there's no funding for it, then we can start to put something in place and then review it and then adjust it and keep doing that as we go forward.
Perfect.
So what you'll get from a Wesleyan advisor is they will take you through that process, and as I say, they've got the expertise and all they deal with is dentists. And the second thing is they'll take you through that cash flow analysis, which is a brilliant exercise, a really useful tool, and it's not a once and done thing. It's a regular review thing. Once you've got it, it's only the starting point. It will change in 6 months' time, it will change in a year, and they'll just keep updating it and keep reviewing it, and depending on which direction your life goes. But what it does do is it means that you have got a real specific plan. You know why you're paying to certain things. You know why you've made certain decisions, because it all fits in with this cash flow analysis. So that's what we would offer, and it just keeps them informed. The best thing we can offer is to help people make informed decisions.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much going on in the world of retirement planning, the world of pensions, that you need someone to just guide you through this, just to make sure you're not missing anything.
And feel confident that they're leading you in the right direction as well, I guess.
Yeah, but you need to be dealing with somebody who gets it, who understands dentistry. I think that's one of the most important things, because of the nature of the job. Self-employed, potentially employed, potentially limited company, potentially a director of their own business, potentially in a partnership. What does all that mean to your retirement planning? It can be really complex. So someone who deals with dentists day in, day out just gets that, understands it, and then applies that knowledge and helps take you through that journey.
Perfect.
And I think, again, one message just for everybody is just that. Please take the time to do that with, even if it's not with Wesleyan, just with somebody. Sit down with somebody and make sure that you have that plan. One of the biggest mistakes you can make just now is to do nothing, pretend that it's going to go away. It would be such a mistake. So please take time to take a step back and just understand where you are.
Perfect. Thank you very much for shining a light on the realities of what's going on and how people can protect their livelihoods going forward. It's been really insightful.
You're very welcome. Thanks again, Gabby. Nice to see you.